public session?
Joe.
Joe, second, Justin? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. So now I need a motion to accept the agenda, and then we're gonna discuss it. Clyde, motion, second?
Joe.
Joe? As a discussion item, I would like to add an agenda item under new business. It will be C, and it will be resolution number 145, 2021, regarding the contract between the district and the superintendent. Any other discussion on the agenda?
Can we add a discussion maybe under new business of COVID protocols? Or maybe we could do that under reports. I just want to get some updates on where we're at given the high numbers of COVID.
We can add that under new business, so we'll add a D for COVID discussion. I think that's typically something we went one meeting without it, but we can add that.
Sorry.
Okay. Any other items? Okay, if not, can I get a vote? So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. So now if I can get a motion for the consent agenda. This is one that we don't discuss. I guess we don't have any public, I guess online they may want to know. This is a way to make our meetings more efficient. And so we don't discuss the topics on the consent agenda. It just helps move the meeting along. So can I get a motion for the consent agenda? Nancy, second Joe. All in favor of the consent agenda? Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. So that brings us down to public comment. Zach's wife may want to, do you want to say anything? Gemini?
I'm sorry.
Do you want to say anything? I think you're the only one that
even recognize.
you're the only one that qualifies as public, I think.
Can you call her Legend's mom? Maybe
That's
she'll-
right. That's right.
Yes, excuse me, sorry. I was texting in class.
If not, we will go ahead and proceed to our financial report, and I'll turn the time over to Cindy.
The budget status report and the budgetary transfer reports are in Google Drive. There were no transfers over 10,000. We just had a few this time. We're gonna have more coming up pretty soon. Does anyone have any questions on the transfers?
If not, can I get a motion for resolution number 143, 2021? Zach? Second? Justin? So all in favor of approving resolution number 143, 2021, approving the current budgetary transfer report? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Go ahead, Cindy.
Reminder that the weekly warrants are in Google Drive as well. I had put an agreement in the Google Drive last week for a general service agreement in between Saranac Lake Central School District and Michelle Manchester Grant Services to provide grants, procurement, and management consultation as needed at a rate of $80 per hour, up to $8,000 a year. Shelley has a lot of history working with grants. She used to work for BOCES. She had like 17 different school districts she's worked with. And we're just trying to have her do some transitioning from Diane writing a lot of the grants to Melissa, and just some general knowledge and helping us track grants and just for suggestions and ideas.
So if I can get a motion on that, and then we're gonna go ahead and discuss
Can I
it.
just
So
ask
can I get a, before we discuss it, can I get a motion for resolution number 144, 2021? Mark, second? Clyde? Okay, go ahead, Nancy.
Well, I just wonder I spoke with somebody who does grant services. She lives in Saranac Lake, but wasn't working for the district. Is that who this is?
She does live in Saranac Lake.
She does.
Yes.
Then that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know her
She's-
name.
Yeah, she's done this for a long time.
Yeah, she's very good.
Is she the same person that helped us on the other grant,
No.
or is this someone else?
Someone else.
This is someone else.
Her last one, I think, was Beekman Town. She did.
She's still working for Beacon Town.
Did she? Yeah.
Okay.
I thought she'd
She's
retired.
retired, but she's still helping people in town.
Okay, so she's
Yeah.
retired from both.
So when she
Yeah.
said she's not doing very well at retirement,
That's-
she means it.
Yeah.
Is she gonna help us then perhaps with some of these grant administration with that big grant we discussed?
Yeah, it's just, we're not having her so much write grants, but yes, administering the big grants, kind of getting a handle on them. Because they're like a big giant wish list right now, and we're just trying to get them organized and cleaned up and spend the money the way we need to.
What was the rate that we were paying the person who helped us on the other grant?
We had a grant writer that helped us, but I don't think we had anybody else.
We haven't.
Okay, so we
We-
don't know
we
what the competitive
actually-
rate would be.
Well, we met with Shelley a few years ago
Okay,
to purchase her services through BOCES, and it was $35,000 a year. So, this
Okay.
is not far off of a going rate.
okay.
And it'd probably be through a grant that we can.
Yeah.
Is 100 hours enough for full time, do you think?
Well, I think that was a good starting point, and if we found that we needed more, we'd come back to the
Okay.
board.
They could come back to the board for that. Okay, any other questions regarding this resolution? If not, all in favor of resolution number 144, 2021, approving the agreement between Saranac Lake Central School District and Michelle Manchester? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I have an extra little thing that's not on your notes, but I wanted to just discuss the transparency reporting really quickly with you.
Oh, that's in the new business, but we can do it.
Oh, do you have it on?
Yeah, it's on new business.
Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, because that's something that you don't normally.
Read that agenda.
It's fine. Sorry. Stick to the agenda.
Yes.
So if there aren't any more questions for Cindy, I think we can actually skip to new business, because it doesn't sound like there's any unfinished business. So new business, this one I believe is for Clyde regarding to the Distinguished Alumni and Foundation Dinner.
So I sent you all this stuff last night, because Diane knows I'm a stickler about people getting information before it's presented. So I want to make sure we had it ahead of time, see if you had any questions. So basically the black and white one, that's the mission statement I got from Erica for the community school, so I just threw that on there. The other is just some stuff I copy and pasted from a group that had to start a foundation, basically is what it was. Just like the board blessing to proceed a little bit further, bring back a formal board and all that. They do stress that they do not think a foundation and school board should coincide at all. They should be totally separate. Having said that, I still think one member of the board should be on it, just for reporting back and forth. I think it still is an important thing. And then, it would be, I would assume, like, Erica being volunteered to be on another board. She had given me a couple of names of some other people to contact if people think this is a good idea to proceed with it, of where to get other members and have just a 5 to 7 member board. I don't think you need to go crazy with this. It can be added to, can be adjusted down the road. And just get a blessing to start that. And then the Alumni Distinction Award, we in the past, before COVID hit, we were going to honor one person. I talked to everybody who was on that original committee, and they agreed, let's do 2. We had 5 or 6 candidates. 2 were definitely top of the other ones. And they said, yeah, we should do 2. Being very, transparent. My idea of having the Alumni of Distinction and the foundation tied together is the Alumni of Distinction would probably be honored to help us start the foundation and give us some seed money. Everything else I wrote down here, you know, I would guesstimate it'd be, you know, 100 people for a dinner. It would be a buffet style dinner, not a sit down. It's too expensive. It's expensive as it is for everything. Hotel graciously agreed to waive any technology fee in the rental fee of the room, which is about $750 between the two of those. So that was a good start for us. And then I would just ask if the board would okay of coming up with $2140 or $2,500.
$21.40 is the total cost of dinner?
No, $2140 is the two,
Oh,
doing the two kind of hors d'oeuvre things, the two platters that'll be out the door in the reception part, and then paying for
okay.
2 dinners for each of the honorees. So it'd be the honoree and a spouse, and then if they were bringing everybody else, they would pay that on their own.
I'm sorry, what is this? What's the food display?
Those, the garden fresh criquet
Oh, okay,
and the cheese board.
okay. I didn't know if that was like furniture or if it
Nope.
referred to menu items.
I think sounds great. You have my blessing.
I have to have the blessing of the one sitting in the corner there.
Yeah.
How much money she wants to give me.
So I can't use public funds, but I'm sure between now, if we have between now and November, we could come up with the 2140.
That would be great.
I'm gonna charge the administrators every meeting that they miss.
Every time they pick up their cell phone during a meeting,
There you go, $5.
I think it's 10.
Uh-huh.
We should raise it during the summer then?
So if I have the blessing to at least start the proceeding of this thing, I'd like to get things rolling. The one of the honorees I thought was still in Malaysia, but he's not. He's now back in the States. And the other one, his family lives in California and in Hawaii. The honoree would not make it. He is not well, but his family would love to be there.
Nice, thank you so much for this, Clyde, we've talked about it for a long time.
So the Saranac Lake Community Schools is just an example of what you might come up with.
What's that?
The Saranac Lake Community Schools Foundation is just an example of what you would like to come up with to lead the,
So I'd like to start a foundation that would benefit.
but
the
this is
community
just,
schools.
because this is just the example, right? This is not your,
Oh, the mission statement?
yeah.
The mission statement is the community schools mission statement.
So you're gonna come up with something similar for this stuff,
For the foundation, yes.
and then that will come back to us?
And as things progress, I still have, actually, I can do that. I still have the distinctive alumni email, and I'll use that to correspond back and forth with the board.
Okay, and then if you correspond with Fred, he'll distribute it to all of us.
Yep. I'll send it to BOE.
You know, okay, so
Yeah.
whoever is on after tonight, will
Yes.
just, you know, will-
Yeah, if I just do BOE and I'm it goes to Fred and goes to Diane too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I always do BOE and then I do Diane also.
I'm not sure who else is on, is it just the board of you?
Are you on it, Cindy? I
Okay.
think it's the board, Cindy,
I think Nancy's
Fred
on
and
all
I,
of it.
maybe Nancy. All of a sudden the list is long, and,
Well, it's nothing, I mean,
right,
more people
if
know.
we're doing it right, there shouldn't be
Yeah.
anything that's a problem.
So I did mention keeping things separate, but I would agree that having a board member makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there a need to make that person like a distinguished guest so that they don't necessarily have anything other than?
No, not necessarily, I don't think. No. And it wouldn't make any, once the foundation is set, there's no reason the board, the school board itself would have any say in any of it. But I think having a board member on there is a good thing for reporting
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
steering and stuff.
Yeah, no, agreed. And my understanding is the 2140 and the 2502 difference would be that if we do the 2502, then $10 per,
Yeah, and that's not a big deal. We'll still get $4 and something cents per person, just for like seed money. And then, been just talking with a couple of members of the Distinguished Alumni, group. And, we're gonna probably set up a little silent auction. Not go overboard, but do something, you know, see if I can get some big things, to raise some good money.
Think we could do the 2502?
I'm gonna work with the 2140.
I know, I know.
I'll work with the 2140, and then by the time we get there, if
Yeah.
Diane come up with more, then great.
That
Okay.
sounds good.
Yeah, because we can't use public funds for this.
I understand.
So I think that's good to shoot for the 2140, and then if we
And-
go above, just contribute whatever.
And there will be no,
Okay.
drink tickets or anything like that. Anybody wants to drink, they'll have to pay their own. Definitely have to have that separate.
As far as no oversight by the board, I do have a concern, only in that, would there be a notification of who you're recognizing, and if there was any concerns, a way to vet that out?
That would be up to the Distinguished Alumni Committee, which was set up by the board, which will have to be done again, because most of the people on there are probably not gonna do it again.
Because I would just be concerned, I mean, I doubt this is ever gonna
Yeah.
happen, but I would hate to have someone be
Honored who
honored
has
who
a
has
shady background.
something that should not be connected to a school.
So,
So typically, what we did last time when we set up the committee originally, one board member, which was me, and then I picked other people in there. Ideally, I'd like to see it be one board member, the honorees, and a couple other people.
That would be the only connection I would say.
And that's separate than the foundation. These are two different groups.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get rolling.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Good stuff, Art.
Okay, so next item on new business, the state funding and transparency report. This topic did come up because we just received a letter regarding the late status of the meeting, or excuse me, of the report. And I am not familiar with this one. So I asked Cindy to fill us in on it and then also discuss where it's at and what it would take to get it done.
So there's two transparency reportings. One is the New York State transparency reporting and one is ESSA transparency reporting. New York State transparency reporting, I'll give you a little overview. Beginning in the 2018-19 school year, education law, which was passed by the legislature and became law, Chapter 59, requires school districts to annually submit to the Commissioner of the State of Education Department and the Director of the Budget a detailed statement of the total funding allocation for each school district for the upcoming school budget year in a form developed by the Director of the Budget. Based on existing financial information that school districts already report to the State Education Department on a district-wide basis, the form seeks to capture school districts' methodologies and/or rationales for school-level funding determinations, including funding from state, local, and federal sources. In addition, the form surveys school districts' projected centralized district costs, school-level student and staff information, school allocations for various programs, and if applicable, school-level allocations under any locally implemented funding formula. So this reporting is based on the next year's budget. It includes grant budgets, and this year, the grant budgets were all over the place. We were still trying to establish what the grant budgets were for, especially for ARP and SURSA. So I was not really I couldn't really establish what all the numbers were until we had those in place to begin with. The submission deadline was September 3rd of 21, and has not been submitted yet.
So wait, the submission date, the deadline of the of September 2021 was for transparency report for the school year 21-22?
The year we're in, yes. Okay. And our state aid could be withheld if we don't submit on time. It has not happened yet. Our state aid has not been withheld, but they, as you mentioned in the letter, they threaten that they will. And sooner or later they would. So my plan is that now that the budget is done, I need to regroup and I will focus on getting it completed. It will take a good 3 to 5 full days of work to complete. It's a lot of detail. You have to break out BOCES services, all the stuff that they mentioned here. There's student counts, there's just a variety of things that you have to do for this one. But it's more complicated. I'll also tell you what the ESSA one is all about. This one is more detailed and more, it's like looking at a crystal ball. And sometimes you wonder why they bother doing this, because there's so much room for interpretation. There's so much, one district may look at doing it this way, and another district does it this way, and you're really comparing apples to apples when all said and done. But the ESSA financial transparency is a
So before you go on with the ESSA though, so the letter that I got said that you did not file your 2021 and or 21-22. Did we file our 2021?
Yeah.
Transparency.
That's
report? Okay, so we're only missing
Yeah,
one
it's
year.
just the 1 year.
When was that one filed?
The prior year, whatever the deadline was. It was a little after the deadline on that one too, but it
So
was
that
filed.
was sometime in September, October of that previous year.
Yeah. That was, I think, that was our first time we had to do it.
Okay.
Ready?
That's it, now you can go.
ESSA is the building level financial transparency under ESSA, which will help those interested in education learn more about the equity and effectiveness of our federal, state, and local educational resources, similar to the other one. It is critical that local education agencies maximize every dollar to provide the best opportunities and improve outcomes for our students. Fiscal transparency reports outline how much each school is spending per student and the source of the funds. These fiscal transparency reports inform conversations within districts about whether equitable resources are being provided at the school level. At the state level, these reports will help inform future Board of Regents policy-making decisions. Now, that report was due the end of December 21. And that was based on the 2021 actual expenditures. And that has been submitted, and that one is done. Because it was a lot easier to use when you're doing the actual numbers, and it's just a cleaner format that they have in the state one.
So the first transparency report is just based on budgeted numbers
Yes,
and what you predict would be spent in each
Yes.
building.
yes,
And then the second, the ESSA one was based on actual expenditures.
yes.
Okay, so you have to forecast last year's budget for the 2021 one? You have to split it up.
For the one that I need to file?
Yeah.
That's for the 21-22 school year,
Yes.
the year we're in right now. But we wouldn't,
You would actually have almost, final numbers, not estimates.
pretty good, yeah.
So who has to do that work? Is that something that you have to do all the work on, or are there pieces that are done by others?
Most of
Is there
it's
someone to
me.
coordinate it?
Because I will reach out for certain things. I would ask my payroll clerk maybe to do some counts on some things. It'll be mostly me this time though, just because of I'll walk through most of it. It's kind of a process, and until I actually do it, I have to do stuff with the BOCES services and break that out, and then I have to, you have to say how many certain types of positions are at Bloomingdale, how many certain, like a para something. So then you have to go look up what a para something is and what our positions equate to that, and then you have to do the counts, run the reports and like that, and do that.
So I think anytime, with all these reports that you're doing, anytime that we can delegate some of those activities to others in the office, especially so that we're not single-threaded, would be good, or even if you could pull people in to do parts of it with you, so that because if nobody knows how to do it, you're not gonna have any help this year or in future years. So if we can train some of the office staff to do pieces of these reports.
Right, but I have to figure out what the reports entail. I gotta walk through it, and I've only done it once, and there's just a lot of people, until I understand it, I can't teach it to somebody else.
But as you're going through it, if you come to a section that's like,
Well, if it's a manual,
you know,
something,
pull
run a
the student
report, I can
counts,
do that.
and you can hand that off, then definitely hand it off. And you can
I do
run
that.
something.
If I need a report run, then I'll, and I also, when I do this stuff, I use OneNote, like religiously. I have notes. I build on what I did last year and I'll go, this is how I did it. This is a good way, this is a report I can run. I do screenshots of the report that I can run. So literally I can hand somebody my screenshots and say, follow these steps. So
And
that's what I'm working on.
This is only the second year of this report.
Yeah.
But because I think that would help you with any of the reports that you're doing.
That would
If we
help
can-
me in general in the
If we
office.
can train others to do some of those tasks.
Yeah.
Utilize them. Okay, so what's our timing on this one? Do you, I thought they said in the letter, I was gonna bring the letter with me tonight, but I honestly forgot. But, I thought they said that they were withholding state funds, so they have not.
No.
Okay, and what's our timing on, do they know when they would, or are they just saying
It could be any day.
this could be?
At this point, it's not, we have a June payment later in June that we'll get. And that, so we're not like, we've gotten most of our aid already.
Okay.
So
And then what's the, is this currently built into whatever your schedule is? Do you have time to do this, or?
I'm gonna make time. It has to be, and it's kind of been my plan, but once I get out of budget mode, then yes.
It would be nice to just keep this on the agenda and maybe in mid-June, get an update on it. And then hopefully we could wrap that up, because then the next meeting would be our organizational meeting, so if we can.
I'm gonna try to get it done before that, but yes.
Yeah, even the first meeting in June, if you have it done,
Yeah.
put it on the agenda to say it's
I'll
done.
let you know.
Yeah.
You can even put it on the June, I'll tell you where it's at, you can put it on the first meeting.
Let's put it on the second, just to give breathing room. Okay, let's do the second, and then if it's done, we can always move it up, but. A little easier. Okay, if there's, are there any other questions for Cindy on those two reports? If not, we'll move along on to C in new business, which is the resolution number 145, 2021 that was added at the beginning of the meeting. So that would be to approve a contract by and between the Saranac Lake Central School District and the Superintendent Diane Fox to act as our superintendent for the timeframe of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th of 2028. So can I get a motion?
I think it's 2027.
Did I write that wrong?
That's my, it says 28, that's what
The school, it's the 20,
22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26, 26, 27. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 27. We'll take a look. Wait, I can tell you. As Mark knows, I
have
am,
my copy right here too.
having a little problem with dates. June 30th, 2027.
Sorry.
That's
my
okay.
bad. I'm just gonna squeeze that extra year in
What
there.
was that?
Who's coming?
Not me.
So July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2027. Can I get a motion? Justin? And then Zach was gonna motion before we change it, so I'll put him as a second. Any discussion on that? Okay. And so we'll get that finalized after the meeting, and have that document available, if requested, so. So, yeah, I was just
Sorry.
mentally making that note. Do we need we don't need a roll call on these, right? We just can just do a regular
We
vote.
don't do a roll call on any other contract.
Okay, perfect. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. And then now we have another item for new business that was added for D for the COVID discussion. So did you want an update from Diane, Joe, or how?
Yeah, I
did you
guess I
want
was I just wanted to have some public discussion about where we were at, given that, you know, I'm listening to my wife report on hospital, what's going on with her practice, and also looking at CDC COVID community levels are now in the red, right? And so Franklin County, we're at high for community transmission, resilience, however they're doing that. I guess I'm just asking for an update on if we have any changes in protocols, if we anticipate any, is there any conversation going on at the level of the county or the state that we should know about? Or has everyone kind of given up on this?
Or what does it actually look like in our district?
Yeah, what does it actually look like in our district is a good one as well.
Because as we know, the other end of the county kind of drives those numbers.
Yeah, and really all of New York State is red for the most part too. So, and Vermont and Massachusetts. So I didn't really, you know, nothing to prepare, but just can you give us a general sense of kind of
Sure.
what's going on?
So in a nutshell, our protocol hasn't changed, but compliance has. And we can only address what we know. So our protocol stays the same. We had talked a little bit, the nurses and myself, about once this wave dies down, about perhaps not masking at the elementary like we've been masking, whole classes, but stepping back from that. But we are seeing, I'm actually looking at our tracking for this week. Our numbers are down for this week compared to what they were last week for our number of positives. It's only Tuesday, but last week, Monday and Tuesday were big days for us as people came and reported what had happened over the weekend. So actually it's looking pretty good today, comparatively. But we are holding fast to what we've been doing right along. There was some discussion, request for drinking fountains to be turned back on. And we've had the bottle fillers on the whole time. But Warren and I talked about that, and we're sort of caught in this zone, because if you look outside, everybody thinks COVID is over and everything's loosened up, but state ed has not, there's been no change in the guidance that told us to shut down the water fountains. There has been no new guidance in a long time as far as facilities. So we're still operating under kind of heavy facility COVID restrictions. So
Similar things with like airflow.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. All that is still as it was. We haven't changed any of that.
And
But we are finding families less willing to share with us that there's illness in the family or that their child has the sniffles. We're finding a lot of people who are using COVID home tests as the reason to return to school. You know, we did the home test and they're negative. And then we're watching the Adirondack Health, and I certainly understand why, but they're decreasing their number of hours for their COVID clinic now. It's only mornings. So, you know, we're sort of watching the rest of the world pretending everything is normal, and yet we're still living under a lot of mandated COVID restrictions. And parents are tired of it. They're giving us a hard time.
Yeah.
And I understand, because everywhere else in the world, it's loosened, and we're still looking for PCR results, still looking for, you know, can't come back until your symptoms have significantly resolved. There's just a lot of still, we're living in two worlds, a school world and everybody else.
Well, it's the way it should be, even if they have a regular cold.
Right.
It shouldn't be in school symptoms anyway. so
Correct.
Get over it.
Yes.
The healthcare industry is also big retailer.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not alone. Yeah.
We still have rapid tests to give out.
Yep.
And I saw the postal service just re-upped their thing. You can get 8 tests now. It's worth pushing that out again. People need them.
You can get new ones from the government?
Yeah, they're sending out rapid tests again from the government, 8 at a time now. I don't know if people
I still have 6 or 8 of them.
use
Yeah,
so
kids.
many for the
No
kids.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's amazing what you don't catch when you don't have kids in the school district.
Okay, Zach, jump in there.
Have you
Would it be worth a reminder to parents what the current policies are? Like what the protocols are? Because I think they were changing so much, it's like when you get to that point, you're like, I don't even know what the protocols are. And you gotta go find them. So I wonder if it would be nice to send out a, hey, reminder, if your kid's got this, then do this.
I think we're trying to slink to the end of June, to be honest. We're outside a lot more. It just stirs the pot because it will get a reaction on both sides. Well, I can't believe it allows us. And the other side of, this is ridiculous. We've been doing it for 2 years. My kid is fine. So I think the course we're taking right now is the windows are open, the weather is nice. We've got 5 weeks to the end of the year. We're just gonna get there, regroup over the summer and see where we are in September. But we do get a home test for free. We've actually used a good portion of our kits that we have. So just last week I started, you can stop and start, and we were piled. So I have asked again for the home kits to come. So we've got plenty of home kits. The other thing the nurses and I have talked about is we are doing more testing in-house. We have the Bionex Now PCR. We know which families will not do it, and we have enough testing to get us to the end of the year that we've sort of loosened up what we're doing here too for families. They have to agree to it, but it's just not worth the fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and if we have the resources to do that and make it
Correct.
easier on both
Correct.
sides, then we should do it.
And they have re-upped the grant to the counties for testing for next year. So we've been talking with FEH BOCES. They've been sending a team each week to test our unvaccinated and some of our student and staff populations. Anybody in our staff can do it. But ours just came in from this week. We have a whopping 14. So it's really not cost efficient. I spoke to them. We were talking about how we might use it next year. And for us, if we need to, and 14 is larger than our actual unvaccinated staff. We have some staff who just like to be tested every week. So I've asked that they not use the team to come here every week, but if we could use the funding to buy the Bionex Now materials, because it's just not, and our nursing staff could do it, you can come on Monday, you come on Tuesday. We could just test each week for our unvaccinated staff. We really do not have students, families who are requesting testing at this point. I don't imagine that will pick up next year. So I'm hoping that, because the test kits are expensive.
I'm gonna knock on something.
I
Now that you just said that.
So I'm hoping we'll use our money on the Bionex Now kits for next year and be able to continue to provide that service.
Is there any, are you hearing any conversation at the state level or at the county level just about those scales of governance and what's going on, or?
Nothing.
Okay.
The state has stepped out of contact tracing.
Yep.
The county has stepped out of contact tracing. We don't communicate with the county. We used to meet, but there's really has been nothing for us to talk about. They truly have stepped out and stepped on.
Okay.
So I know that's not what you want to hear, but
No, I just was
that's the
wondering,
reality.
I just wanted to know what the state of play was.
Yes.
Because it's changed so
Yes.
much since this all started. And so just to get a sense of where everyone is at. Thank you for that.
All right, so we are on to reports. What time is voting done?
8.
8. So we gotta stretch this for another.
Don't worry, I have executive session for us, so
I'm
don't
joking,
you
I'm
worry.
joking. So we are right on to reports. We don't have any students tonight. So we'll go ahead and hear from Diane, and then I'll go on to committees.
So I just want to fill you in that I spent a lot of money tonight already, and I've spent a lot of money today. It's actually pretty exciting. Our candidate pool was not large, but we have begun interviews. We interviewed for math, we interviewed for general education. Tomorrow we're doing administrative interviews and special education interviews. We're doing athletic director interviews on Thursday.
That was last Thursday.
Some of us are so excited to serve time on the committee, we came a week early, like to practice coming in the building, getting to our seat, so we wouldn't be late for this week.
Going in, somebody have it on
That's
bench.
the date I got.
And so we've actually had some really good, I offered 4 jobs today, and I have others to offer. So we've had some really good candidates. One of them you approved tonight, and some others that are in the works. So we're feeling pretty good about that because we were nervous. We were just chatting today. Our local district has 24, 25 open positions, and they're just, people are not lining up for education jobs right now. So yes.
Even though you mentioned our pool was small, did we get people apply for every position, or are there positions that we?
We are struggling with counselor. We're struggling with school counselor position right now. Yeah. We're gonna go back, we're gonna advertise, we're gonna talk about, a position in executive session. We're gonna talk about the details of that, and we're going to post it. And we had, you'll notice tonight that our maintenance foreperson got a job in a different district as the facilities manager, so that was nice step up for him. So we have a few positions that are opening that we're gonna advertise anyways, and we'll of course put the counselor position back out when we advertise the next round of positions.
So for a counselor position, is that kind of on the same schedule as teachers, or do
Yes.
they usually, okay, so they're usually interviewing at about the same time?
Yes,
So we're not like off cycle or anything?
no, we're where we should be. So that's this week, and I actually love it. There's nothing nicer than to sit down and talk shop for a few hours with people who are excited about shop, and it's refreshing. We also are moving on with our capital project. We met today with all the players to look at what our capital project what our main pieces may be. We've had some thoughts, and we're pursuing a couple of ways that we might be able to use some funding. I'll bring that back on June 1st, if any of that comes to fruition. We're working on that right now. Yes,
Well, I was gonna ask if, is there any motion or movement towards doing an energy audit,
yes, for Petrova.
just for Prova?
Yeah, well,
To do I'm sorry, a what?
an energy audit. That's what we
Energy.
decided. Yes.
Energy.
That's something different too.
I thought you said interview audit. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is that?
The pieces that are left in this building, they didn't think would be, attractive to anybody doing the energy audit, because they're just piecemeal. It would be very difficult to take these piecemeals and actually show savings. And at, Bloomingdale, the problem is you have to lock in for 15 years. And the question is, are we really locked into holding on to Bloomingdale for 15 years?
This is to do an energy performance contract?
Yes.
Specifically, so the audit would be prior to offering. a
Correct,
EPC.
so that's what we're talking about doing, because we can't fit Petrova, what we were going to do in Petrova in the capital project right now anyways, which would buy us some time to actually go through that process. And perhaps be able to do something with Petrova outside of this cycle. We've been putting money into.
So the specific building has to agree to a 15-year.
So they come in, and Nancy knows much more about this, so she's quizzing me here. They're doing a little formative assessment. Can I tell her what we're doing? So they come in and they review the energy use. Usually they review 2 years of energy files and what your energy use is. They look at your building, they examine it, and they come in and they decide whether or not there are energy savings by doing certain things. And they put out requests for proposals for companies who come in and actually do this. And what they say is, I can come in and I will do A, B, C, and D, and you'll pay me this much over 15 years, but I'm going to save you. I
This much.
guarantee a savings to you of, $10,000 a year for 15 years.
Okay.
Am I close?
Yeah.
Okay, look at that.
I mean, basically, an energy performance contract with a company, is they do, make improvements to
Right.
the building. And I didn't know it had to be just one building, like why they couldn't do the two buildings together. but-
Because we're almost done with our HVAC work over here and we've changed all our lights to LED. The feeling was there just wasn't enough work over here to make anything
Yeah, I guess if
attractive.
you're just looking at a whole building, if that's how they do it, that's how they do it.
Yeah,
The idea is that they will guarantee that the amount that you're gonna pay for the work to be done upfront, you'll be saving over the course of the years that you're paying it back.
Correct.
So the energy saving, and they guarantee it, so you're not gonna be paying more if energy prices change.
We've done this before in the district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last one, Johnson Controls comes to mind, is that the company?
Probably.
but we've also done it with our lights. National Grid did a big thing with lights and came in and changed all our lights to LED as part of a,
And the third floor of control room was all redone.
yes. Yeah, so yes, we are looking at that for the pieces that we have sort of floating around.
Okay.
We're also looking at whether or not our Bloomingdale, boilers would qualify as an emergency project. Because they have disintegrated faster than we had anticipated, and we could be looking at some substantial costs to keep them running for a year in order to replace them at the end of the year. So we're working with the inspectors to see just how bad they are, and if we could possibly get them done as an emergency project.
So would that be our little $100,000 projects?
It's $1.2 million.
Oh, wow.
Is that more than just boiler then?
No, but that's how much it would cost to replace the boilers. There's always two because there's a backup boiler.
Yeah.
That's how much the replacement is estimated to be on the
Is that
boilers.
because it's a school?
Welcome to our world. Everything has.
Because it doesn't cost that much to do that.
Well, so the boilers, I don't have it in front of me, but let's say the boilers are,
30 years old.
well, they're 30 years old. So let's say, well, I can kind of work my way backwards because there's 30% in overhead costs, which is the architect design, the stamp drawings, the review by SED. That we have to have Dean and environmental to do environmental work because there's probably asbestos. We have to have abatement in order to move them out. So there's 30% right there in additional costs. Then there's 15% in there for your contingency plans. Plus, I think they're building in 5% for cost adjustment because everything, so by the time you work your way back,
You're 50% up
You're-
right now.
you're right, like the boilers themselves are $650,000. But all the things we have to do to actually get the old boilers out and the new boilers in makes them $1.2 million in order to do the project.
So if we are looking at replacing those boilers, is that the route we want to take for that school, to stick with boilers? Are there any
Yes.
other options that we would want to investigate?
So that was a discussion today. Did we want to move off of fuel oil? Do we want to do propane? Was there anything else? But anything else turns into a bigger project. We're putting more money into Bloomingdale because the univents are set up to handle, it becomes a bigger project. And do we really want to do a bigger project at Bloomingdale than what we're doing?
See, we went from electric in high school to fuel oil, when fuel oil was affordable.
Yes.
And they kind of had to do a hybrid job, if you will.
I just
Really
think,
got straightened out in the last one.
something to look at is if we want to make a change, now would be the time to do it.
What your options are.
So
Well, is that,
that's out of my
Propane and
wheelhouse.
electric.
but I had said you once, and I've never heard of how, if it panned out into anything useful, but when I started, does a clean heating and cooling screening for large buildings. And I thought it included the school. Did I
I
say?
don't know.
It did not?
I don't know that. I'm sorry.
I mean, geothermal would be the cleaner alternative. I have no idea what it would cost. I'm sure it would not be less than 1.2 million.
Right.
But you have to look at the cost savings over time. Now, if we don't keep the building for very long, that's, it's cost savings to somebody, but maybe not the district.
I hate to be Debbie Downer tonight, next year this is one of the guys who took the pellet. that didn't work.
Well, there were lots of problems.
Yeah. That's just a little fraud. It's always gotten to me.
It never did produce the savings that they had.
You know, and $24,000 it was back then, every 2 years to replace the burn rate.
Yep, and the seal is to be a
Well,
problem.
Yeah.
You didn't complain too much in that, they sort of paid for most of the cost of the oil.
But they paid for nothing and did nothing to help us recoup the cost of $24,000 every 2 years. And it wasn't just us, it was everybody who had that boiler.
That specific boiler, and
Yeah.
the company was,
It's all New York State built by different companies.
So anyways, we're looking at that. We have a reserve fund actually for probably against
repair
the-
reserve.
for repair reserve. So we're looking at some ways to maybe find some other funds to stretch what we have left in our capital budget to cover some of our additional costs. So
If it was an emergency, repair, would that still be able to get, like, you could do the work before this, you would do all the state ed application, but you still could get state ed?
yes, and we
Mhm.
could pay for it. We have enough cash in our budget that we could pay our 56% or whatever we would pay for it. And then it used to be all the things I'm learning back in capital projects, it used to be like when we did our vermiculite, you would get your state aid total percentage back in the following year. And now they're not doing that. Most of them are over a 15-year payback period. But I think we could afford to do an emergency if we needed to, even with the 15-year payback. The other thing was what Joe said. We had originally said no to it, but might be changing my mind on that.
That's federal stuff, right?
Is the ARP grant, the $3.4 million that we received. One thing that really needs some work is our $1.3 million worth of science rooms here in the high school that haven't been updated since the high school was built in '67. But it's shocking that 3 rooms can cost $1.2 million.
As a former science teacher who taught in one of those rooms, I completely agree with you, but also it's necessary.
That's where we are. So, and that would fit beautifully under the American Recovery Plan. The question we had today was there any way we could get a project approved and done? Because the project wraps up in 2024, September of 2024. And what are our chances with supply chain and just help, that we would really be able to get the project complete by the end of the funding period? And it's a dead stop. It's not like you can encumber it. And sometimes you have to encumber by September 20th and spent by June, the following year. This is a dead stop of September 20th, 2024. So we've got some things that we're looking at. I know they've been to state ed because Sigrid Coons is our state ed reviewer for our capital projects, and she's in my email this evening. So I know they're taking some look at what maybe some of our options will be. What we're
I mean, is that something where we could get, we could get a portion of it paid in, under the grant? I mean, if we didn't finish it in time, that would still be, anything we could get as part of that would be helpful.
Yes.
Like maybe build out the room, but not necessarily the client equipment that goes in it, or, any portion of it that could be covered would help the budget.
So we're looking, but remember, we've spent that money, and so that means unspending that money to appropriate someplace else. So we're all taking a look at what we've got. We're gonna come back together. They're doing their end through Schoolhouse and Mosaic, and Vernon and I have some work to do at our end, and we'll see where we end up.
There's gotta be a grant, there's gotta be grants out there to help with science rooms and such, because they are so expensive. I don't know if that's something worth looking into. I would just think that for science and all the STEM stuff that's out there, there would be a grant for that.
I'm just glad the figure didn't go this way.
You're hardly on any committees.
I mean, maybe the Trudeau science room,
There you go. Yes.
the Adirondack Health Science Room.
Or having one of the oversees that. Clarkson gives a ton to Trudeau.
The rice furniture.
Yeah. We'll stick with the scholarship this year. We'll leave it at that.
You don't sell science furniture.
Yeah, and we, just my last thing is that we are here at the end of the year, and I always say to the board, there's a lot of good stuff going on, and this year there really is. We're back to, because we can be outside, the weather has been so nice. We are doing a lot of fun things, so check the school calendar if you've got some time in your schedule. It's good to have some kid time and come. They're so happy to be out. We're happy to be out. It's a good time to be had by all. They did the outdoor classroom on Monday. Josh just sent out his end of the year for the high school with all the activities that are going on. We're outside again for graduation.
Oh, great.
So, but we're outside again for graduation unless it's raining. And then we'll be in the auditorium for graduation. But there's just a lot going on. Take advantage of it. You do good work for the district and have an opportunity to go see some of that. It just fills your bucket. So, thank you.
Quickly
So
on
I-
that note, some of the senior things like the baccalaureate and things like that, they're always good to attend. With the top 10 dinner over in Placid,
Yeah, we're not doing that.
not doing that, okay?
Uh-huh.
Those are always good things to attend.
They are though. They're really nice.
Question for you, our little speed bump way, when is that getting done in the capital budget?
That's in the project. We talked about that today.
What's the timing of that? Because that is just getting worse and worse.
Well, they're working on filling some of those holes.
Yeah, I noticed.
Sort of.
Maybe the one
but
that
it's-
swallowed my Subaru.
But it is in hopefully next summer's work.
Next summer.
Next summer's work.
And is there any way to get that bumped up?
Yes, so, well, there's no way to get that bumped up under the capital project, no. But they will be in to fill the holes once the plant is up and running. Right now they're using cold pack, is that what
Yeah,
it's
cold
called?
pack.
Aren't you proud of me, Clyde? They're like, come on, we've had a long history, you gotta be impressed that I can talk about cold pack. Who knew? So right now they're using cold pack
And sewers.
and super.
That callback is expensive, so
But
no Subaru in there.
But they will be in to actually do repairs on those.
Because that's horrible there and
Terrible,
over here too.
yes.
It's,
$311,000 to repave Speed Bump Alley.
in the future, or is that now or in the?
No,
future?
in the future.
Assuming
With
that
speed bumps or
contract's
without
not that much. What was that?
With speed bumps or without them.
So here's the history on that. It used to be gravel,
Yep,
which was fine because they had their natural speed bumps in them.
right,
And then in our big project that we did the auditorium, we paved it.
Yeah.
That lasted for about a week when we had drag racing going on. Then we had the speed bumps. They built them too high. That took out some mufflers.
yeah.
So they had to come back and shade the tops. And now you're right. Sure, it's going back to gravel.
I have often wondered if gravel wasn't the answer.
Well, you gotta keep grading it or else you get the
Right.
same thing, big holes, but, I think a well-paved with strategically located speed bumps is the appropriate.
We don't need that many out there. That needs-
I don't think you need as many as there are.
You'd be surprised how fast you can go on.
How fast have you
I
done?
know how fast I can go down the speed bump.
I'm just saying.
But I think a few strategically placed speed bumps would be
That's what I
better than 12 of them out there,
Yeah.
however many there are.
It does appear to be a little overkill, but it was a real problem when I first paved it.
Tim has done a really nice job for us on all of our paving. And then he's given us 3 options. So you can just do your top coat, which is pretty inexpensive, but it lasts 5 to 7 years. So you can grind the top coat, put it right back down. Then you can go down 25%. And that adds like another 5 years. So then you get 10 to 12 years out of it. Or you go right down and do the whole darn thing. And that can get you 15 to 20 years plus. So so we would have choices. Like we could just pay to redo Speed Bump Alley for $100,000 this summer with just a grind and a put right back down. But it's so wet. Tim was talking about how wet things are.
Does that
that,
count as an emergency project?
no,
$100,000?
no, we would just have to keep that 100,000 as just
But
repair
the
work.
problem is, it is still, the whole area is built on a swamp,
Yes,
so you still do get the, freezing from underneath, not even
Yeah.
going down through, the freezing from underneath.
yes,
At times it's trying to crack it up, so
Yeah.
unless you go down and do it right, you're gonna have problems.
that's where we are. Where there are other places that maybe we wouldn't really need to do that. But the speed bump alley really needs, in order for it to have any kind of a life, it really needs a full redo.
When was the last time that was redone?
I don't know.
Did it actually last that long? Because it doesn't seem like.
You were in school that long ago?
Yeah.
It's only been paved once, patched a lot.
Yeah.
And it was gravel, then it went to what we have
Do you
now.
know when it was paved, Mark?
Yeah.
When was it?
Either my junior or senior year. I lived through the, we paved it,
So
It
what year
was
did you graduate?
98.
There you go.
It was too high, they shaved them.
So 25 years later.
Were you driving?
She was the one that caused us to put the.
Oh, yeah?
Remember that dog from Susie?
That was
I do
right
remember
there.
that.
Are you the one who went to break
Yes.
into the pond?
Oh.
Okay.
But it's, it just needs to be done.
Yes,
Yeah, it
yes.
does. It's horrible.
Maybe if we brought some
Yeah,
ice in.
that's not bad.
so people-
That might cause them to speed up.
I heard Mark was wiping out a whole family today.
Crossed my mind, I want to get in trouble. You did have a student one time that, deceased a goose crossing the lane, and the, administrator at the time referred him to the DEC, and he got ticketed. Which I said, you should get a medal. Get your buddies to hit some too. I said that very quietly.
But right now you just said on camera.
Unfortunately, I was close.
My job security is pretty good.
So if we can switch, are you?
I'm
doing
done.
it already?
I'm done.
We will switch over to committees, and I'm gonna start with Justin. Clyde,
Nothing.
Nancy,
Oh, I got a couple things. One is that I listened to a webinar last week or so, and it was about funding that's coming down through the federal infrastructure bill for electric school buses. $5 billion over the next few years. And everything they kept saying it over and over again on the webinar, this is unprecedented amount of funding, and it's a good time to go for it. It's being done as a lottery, so districts, or it doesn't have to be just districts, in our case it would be the district, would apply online, and then they'll do a lottery. There's like prioritized districts first, who are, income eligible, which I don't believe we are prioritized districts. They get a little more access to the funding, but it's still a lottery, how it's chosen. They're gonna spread them out around the country and everything. But it will cover $250,000. This is for the non-prioritized, so this is what we would be eligible. $250,000 per bus, up to 25 buses if we so chose. And there's all rules about it, and the final details are still to come out, but this is what they're expecting. And you must apply online before August. It's a fairly simple process. So I'm just wondering if the district wants to try for it and see, if we got in.
Is there a link there somewhere? Because I haven't seen anything on this.
Because it hasn't, well, I could send you the webinar and it's just an hour, and it has not been released
Okay.
yet, but this is to get people ready for it, and because it's coming out soon, and they're pretty sure that what they are giving out as information is quite close to what it will be. Sure. So I thought, and also there will be money for infrastructure upgrades too. Not just the buses, both the charging stations and whatever it takes to get more power to the place where they're going to charge. And then also I was just gonna mention that I was asked to be on a school counseling advisory committee, and we're gonna be meeting on the 31st. Last time I did it was like pre-COVID. It was to talk about the scholarship. So we'll see, that's still what it is. And then just to mention that there's a DEI committee meeting on Thursday of this week. It's still online, we're on Google Meet. Everybody's always welcome to sit in on it. That is all.
Joe? gonna go last, so Mark?
I think Diane mentioned and Clyde followed up, all the senior events are coming out, that calendar's coming out. I'll echo what both of them said. They are nice events to attend and, you know, our students usually represent themselves very well, so. Get a chance to stop at any of those, you'll enjoy them. In the athletic
Can
from,
you get a copy of that? I don't think I've.
Josh was supposed to send it. He said he'd send it last meeting.
I'll send it out to the board.
Maybe I
Yeah,
can see it, I don't know. I would love to see that, thank you.
And in the athletic department, this is the time of year our teams will be finishing their regular season, rolling into playoffs and those kinds of things. So it seems strange. We had snow a couple weeks ago, it seems, and they'll be finished soon.
Yeah.
And then going into postseason. So,
Nothing.
All right. So just a couple of things. I have been asking about the geese problem, and a lot of people have been impressed with the reduction of geese and their feces on our property. So that is good news.
I met with her the other night.
What was that?
I met with her the other night.
Oh, the goose lady?
The goose lady, yes.
Was she here?
She was here, or somebody was walking their dog walk. And they just wanted to make sure it wasn't interfering. And she said, nope, any dog is welcome, but we, I don't say that. Shh, we didn't say that.
I was gonna say there's some notices posted on the side of the
Not where I come in. There's no notices where I walk.
So, yeah, so they've noticed a significant difference and,
Yeah, good.
so I mean, anytime we can get a compliment on geese control is amazing, because I don't think I've heard one ever.
well, I don't think we're expecting perfection, but reduction was a goal, and
Yeah.
so far,
See, hopefully that pond fills back up again for them to see if they come back or not.
They anticipate they'll be back in August.
Has anybody heard if where the geese have gone? Are there issues at the village level? Nobody?
I haven't asked.
My contact is, I thought I had a contact lined up, but it didn't pay out.
Hampshire Bay Resort has a lot of them.
Yeah, they've been talking about it, yeah.
No, I walked down there too. And, there's a lot of them.
Are there?
Yeah.
Maybe that's where they
Yeah.
relocated.
Yep.
Maybe you get a couple business cards next time you talk to her.
I told her they're down there. She says, oh, the contact, good.
Okay, so that was some good news. And then, yeah, the lacrosse playoffs are Saturday and it's amazing that the sports are coming to an end.
that's a
There's
little
so many
earlier because we
games.
play lacrosse in section 10. Their calendar's a little bit different than ours because they don't take a 2-week spring break, so
Yeah.
their calendar works a little different.
But it sounded like, I was talking to Bill yesterday because of the weather, and it sounded like a lot of the sports are right
Yeah,
on
they'll
that.
be finishing up.
So that's great. And then I did want to finish off tonight with a few, well, before executive session, with a few thank yous. And so, as you know, it is Clyde's last meeting tonight, and as a board, we would just like to express our thanks that you stepped up and filled in for the amount of time.
Happy to do it for the one time.
So thank you. It's been great to have you on the board during this time. The other person I would like to thank, I cannot thank right now. It may be their last night too, but I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm just not going to say it tonight. But we appreciate that work too. And then outside of that, we'll just hopefully hear some news tonight. I don't know what the write-ins, are we going to hear tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll still know tonight. Okay. I didn't know if you guys had to physically look at them all.
We do.
Yep. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still here.
17 is the number to beat.
Is that how many you have?
Yeah.
There's 17?
17, man.
Look, we
It's
didn't-
not how many, it's who.
I was surprised there was a push for a write-in.
14.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, a big push. So that's crazy. It's great that there's interest out there. But, so we'll find out after the vote stops on that one. We are in need of an executive session tonight.
Want to ask any of them?
I guess I should ask the administrator, I was gonna give you a pass tonight because there's.
Thanks,
two.
Clyde.
Least I can do.
Pardon me.
Do you wanna go
Diana was talking about the outdoor activities. I went to the Patrol with Dance, which was outside here in the track last Friday. And then I had a little bit of time outside of the outdoor day at Patrola, and the kids are loving being outside and doing those activities. My kids had a blast at the dance, and you know, my fifth grader, who was not the vocal, like one of the, this is so much fun, school is so much fun. He was like, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. Thanks for taking me. So the kids loved it. They loved being back together and mixing the classes and being outside. So that was really good. Last thing, I worked with the St. Louis family who was interested in, they wanted to put together a memorial scholarship for 2 graduating seniors in memory of Andrew St. Louis. So we put that together last week and shared it with Josh, who shared it with the seniors as a late entry for a scholarship. They want to award 2 seniors between Saranac and Mike Placid. So we shared that with Connie over in the guidance department at the Mid Placid as well. So they want to develop a foundation to continually award 2 seniors every year.
That's Angie St. Louis.
Andrew St. Louis.
Andrew, I got you. Okay, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thursday was our community resource day, and if you drove through town, you saw lots of excitement and tents, and it was nicely attended by both community members, our students, and the vendors. There was 65 different agencies or businesses represented in the park on the hottest day since I don't even know when. But it was so wonderful to see all of the people. Some people I have never met in person before, only ever saw them from this much up. And we had a lot of kids who took job applications, and the businesses were a little overwhelmed to see how many other businesses are looking to hire people. But year 2 is ready to roll, and we're going to keep it the same week, the same day every year to continue sharing the good work of agencies and our local businesses who need employees
And our community schools.
and community schools. Yes.
You got good press on TV on that.
Oh
Yes,
my
you did.
gosh, we had called
It was good coverage.
them to ask them to do like a story, and they quoted us $5,000. We're like, no, like we just want you to come, report. And so then when they called, we were like, oh, let's go. So that was wonderful that they picked that
Yeah,
up.
it was well done.
Yeah, she did a nice job. It was just her and a camera. There's no camera person anymore. It's
No.
just the reporter and the camera and her cell phone, and packaged it in the park.
Like
and
a
was sending
selfie
out.
stick?
No, with the camera, they put it on a
Oh,
tripod.
they put it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That controls it.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mention I stopped by, and I thought it was a wonderful event. It was really nice to, it was a beautiful day, but people were happy to be out. And vendors were happy to be there. Everybody was pleased, so.
Yeah,
Nice
it was
event.
great.
Awesome.
That's it.
Okay. So if we could get a motion to go into executive session.
Go.
Nancy. And then all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes.
That's okay. I'm gonna go turn off the
And then,
machine.
take it with you.
I am.
Coordinate on the.
Send me that. I still have my-
I've got,
Oh, really?
Yeah, my wife has it.